Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk About It, All the Things.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Whitney. How's your day?
My day is good so far. How is your day?
It's actually very good. I'm getting a lot done today.
Yeah?
So I feel very productive.
Good.
Yeah, and energetic. I don't know why, because I didn't get any sleep last night. But
And it's supposed to snow.
And it's supposed to snow, which is gross. Because it's April and it's not supposed to snow.
Yeah,
That's true.
but good so far.
All right. So we have a guest today.
We do.
So excited. We have Lindsay from Therapy Ranch. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi,
Thank
Lindsay.
you. Hi.
We are so excited because I had the opportunity to go out and talk to Lindsay and meet her amazing, beautiful horses. So we're going to talk a little bit today about equine therapy. We have talked about pet therapy. We brought in a dog, if everyone remembers. Cooper, yes.
No, Uber. Wasn't it Uber?
Was it Uber? Yes. Oh, sorry.
The only way I remember that
Was
is because
Uber.
somebody said it was the nickname for people in the UP.
Yes, it was Uber. You're right. It was.
That's the only way I remembered that. Sorry.
So we couldn't bring a horse into the studio today. I mean, we could have, but
I don't think my boss would have enjoyed that.
yeah. So we nixed the bringing the horse into the studio today, unlike the dog. But anyways, we're really excited to have Lindsay, and we're just going to open it up by I've talked to several people just this week about how excited I am to have you on the show and talk about equine
Thank you.
therapy. And everybody there, it's like either people know what equine is or people are like, what is equine? And I'm like, horse.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so they don't even understand like that it's horses, it's therapy with horses. So why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and like how you even got into equine therapy and all of that stuff.
Yes. Well, my name is Lindsay Drouillard, and I have been a horsewoman for pretty much all my life. So growing up was somewhat of a privileged childhood, having horses and showing and training throughout my childhood. My sister and I were super competitive, and we always had the horses to kind of fall back on and to have our peace and have our own little quiet time in the barn. Our childhood wasn't exactly blissful with our parents. There's a lot of fighting in the household, and a lot going on. So we always found our respite in the barn with the horses and really channeled all of our energy there. So as an adult, I became a nurse practitioner and have worked in school-based health clinics for a lot of my career. And in working in, the city of Detroit and with kids who may not have a lot of resources, the mental health was always a huge challenge for kids to get services and to find methods that helped and worked for them. So as I did some volunteering and, did some studying, I found this Equine Assisted Therapy that really melds together the horse experience with mental health sessions. So became EGALA certified, which is an international credentialing body for this type of work, and started Therapy Ranch in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where's that based at?
We work, we are part of Stillwater Stables and Stays in Ortonville. So they are a partner with us, and we keep our horses there.
Okay. That's really not too far, because you don't hear about too many, any type of farming like that for therapy around Michigan.
Right. There aren't a lot of farms or horse institutes doing it, and especially in Southeast Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very
There's
cool.
several scattered throughout the state, but not much happening here in Southeast Michigan.
So what was the process for you to get equine experience certified or whatever
Mhm.
that is. So what does that look like?
Well, EGALA looks at your background. So they certify mental health therapists and they also certify equine specialists. So they look at how many hours of experience that you have, in your field. So with a horse expert, you have to have had so many thousands of hours of experience working with horses.
Okay.
And then they hold a 5-day training to get certified in the work.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
After you've done all the background work, right?
Sure.
And the mental health professional, has to be certified in their specialty area too.
So what's your range that you see of people coming in for that type of
The ages?
therapy?
The ages
Like the
or different
like
diagnoses.
PTSD,
Mhm.
diagnosis.
Yeah, we don't really have a lot of limitations on who we will see. We see youth and adults, and we see a lot of kids with especially social anxiety and difficulty connecting. That's just been so much more apparent since the COVID and being so isolated at home. For adults, we see a lot of survivors of trauma and different diagnoses, sometimes of anxiety, depression, autism, ADHD, and more.
Okay.
So how does that work? So if I want to come in and do equine therapy with you,
Mhm.
what does like a typical session look like?
Right. Well, after we do all of the consent paperwork and liability and explanation of treatment, we have clients come out to the farm and we're outside for the whole session and we're with the horses. So we'll have a mental health specialist, an equine specialist, the client, and the horses. And we usually start out with observation of what's happening with the horses. And then when clients are comfortable, they will go out into the pasture with the horses. And the sessions really boils down to relationship and connection. So the clients will work on connecting with the horse and getting to know them, building relationship, and then they may work through other things that they're working on.
So as they're kind of like working with the horses, like I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So like, are you talking like, in therapy, like talk therapy, like I'm talking
Mhm.
one-on-one
Right.
with a human. So
Yep.
do you talk to the horse or is it like, I mean, like,
Or
how
is it
does that-
silent
Where
therapy?
does
yeah,
the
or is it
talk
silent
happening?
therapy?
Right.
Like what?
There is a lot less talking
Okay.
as compared with, a typical psychotherapy session. So clients, they're welcome to talk to the horses, and a lot of people will tell the horses their story or, things that they're working through. But the session is more about that interaction between the client and the horse, and we are more observers of what's happening.
Okay.
Sometimes the clients will externalize what's happening out onto the pasture, and the horses will take on a metaphor in their life. So they may take on behaviors that represent their parent or their cousin or their sister or their mother. And the horses will play out a story. And their clients are really able to look at their own life in a third party, perspective, which
Wow.
really gives them a different framework to look at.
That's interesting.
And then the story may change or shift. Clients may build something with obstacles or lead the horses through some kind of a movement pattern with cones or poles, and then take a step back and kind of see, well, how did that go? What happened? How did that go for you?
Mhm.
And then we'll talk about it after. But sometimes clients don't want to talk to us about what they're working through, and that's okay. So it's a really unique type of therapy, and so different from traditional talk therapy.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
Whitney and I were kind of talking about this a couple weeks ago that like so many people I think, especially kids, are like talk therapy can be really awkward,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and very uncomfortable. And I think I love the idea of like pet therapy or equine therapy because I feel like it offers people who maybe are intimidated by talk therapy
Mhm.
a different route that they can
For
go.
sure.
Mhm.
being outside and keeping the focus on the animals instead of, eye-to-eye contact, it really lifts so many barriers and takes the pressure off the client to be performing or to talk, to produce information. They're just allowed to decide, what they want to work on and how much they want to talk. So it works very quickly because the boundaries are so, and the barriers are so diminished because we're outside and in nature. It makes it go a lot faster and deeper for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's something we've talked about a lot, about grounding.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of that.
It is. Clients are able to co-regulate with the horse, which means they're able to, do some rhythmic behaviors or patterns of brushing the horse or touching or petting the horse. And it really resets and calms down their nervous system. And being outside grounding, some clients will just go out and just ground, and even kneel down on the ground or, just squat down, take their shoes off, put their hands in the dirt, and really spend time grounding. We had one client who was feeling dysregulated and came out, and after introducing himself to the horses, immediately started to do some grounding activities. And it was so interesting because he was feeling so dysregulated. He did this behavior. The horses actually walked over and stood over him, almost like in a protective manner. And they stayed like that for several minutes.
Wow.
And it was
so cool.
It was really interesting because you never know how the energy of the client is going to affect the horses or how they're going to respond to the, being activated or highly energized client. In this situation, the horses really just kind of stood over him. It was really beautiful to see.
Wow. I bet. That just
And other times, they respond differently.
Oh, sure. Have you ever seen a client come in and any of the animals not take to it?
Sure, certainly. Yeah. Horses are so different because they're prey animals. They're not attacking animals like a dog or so they are quick to respond and react to the energy or the weather or whatever's happening around them. So they may go, someone may walk up to them really briskly and they may just walk away or run away, or they may approach and, start to approach and then just keep walking through. So different than like a dog or an animal who's trained to be obedient. They give their very honest opinion and they could give a different answer each interaction. So. And then people will personify that activity or that action. So they may say, oh, that's how everybody treats me. Like I'm not even here. Horse just walked away from me. Like nobody likes me. And then that starts the story of the session.
Let's take a quick time out to talk about our amazing sponsor of Let's Talk About It, Town Mortgage. Founded in 1982, the Town Mortgage family of companies has more than 40 years of experience in the mortgage industry. They are passionate about their customers, their company, and the communities they serve, as Town is actively involved with many nonprofit organizations. Their community outreach initiatives are not just a side effect of their business, it's at the heart of it. They are first and foremost a local lender. However, their commitment extends beyond outreach to the products they offer. And On a Dragonfly's Wings is proud to be one of the many charity partners associated with Town Mortgage. As a full-service lender, they manage every aspect of home financing in-house. Because their process is consultation-driven, they have the unique opportunity to educate borrowers each step of the way. By forging these relationships, they ensure their confidence and security from application to closing and beyond as they service most of the loans they originate. This means a lifelong commitment to borrowers. Their business is not fueled by sales, but by their desire to provide solutions tailored to clients' financial futures. For more information about Town Mortgage, please visit Town, TOWNE, mortgage, MORTGAGE.com. Thank you, Town. How many horses do you have that you do this type of therapy with?
Between our horses and the horses at the farm, we work with 5 right now.
Okay.
And those are full grown horses. They're not miniature horses or anything.
Correct. There's no minis on the farm. There is one, Pony of America. She's a little bit smaller, but she fits right in with the horses. She's technically a pony, but only by an inch.
Oh,
Only by an inch. Yeah. Yeah.
how do you pick your horses
Good question.
as a candidate for this therapy?
Most horses in general are good candidates for this type of work. A lot of farms rescue horses to do this work who have had a lot of trauma and terrible things happen to them, and they're still able to do the work. We choose the horses that it's best to just know them very well and their expected reactions to the interactions. And most horses are good candidates. I think of horse that maybe had some neurological problem or a critical diagnosis or had past behavior of something really dangerous would not be a good candidate. But
Mhm.
I think it's most important for the horse handlers to really know the horse as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To
And
know
and
what
that
to
goes
expect.
through any type of breed as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have all different kinds of breeds at the farm. Quarter horse, Appaloosa, Pony of America, and one's a Tennessee Walker cross with an Arab, and then the other one is a thoroughbred. So we have
Wow.
we have
You have
quite
the full
a
gamut.
variety.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the one horse I met, he was an Appaloosa, right?
Yes,
Correct?
yes.
Yeah. So Appaloosas have always been my favorite horse, even when I was little, like all the Breyer horses and stuff I used to always get, but they were always Appaloosas. 'Cause I don't know, there's something just so beautiful about those.
My
those
favorite
types of
too.
horses.
Yes. I like the spots.
Yeah.
They always have color. They always have spots or striped hooves or mottled
Something.
skin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty.
Yeah. And he's like black, gray, white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah. Yeah. He's super pretty. Yeah. He's amazing. Yeah. So how long does like a typical therapy session go for a client?
Usually about 1 hour.
Okay,
just
so
like
about the same
50
as like a
minutes.
talk therapy type of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And does insurance cover?
Ooh, that's a good
It's
question.
a good question.
Okay.
At this time, insurance doesn't like anything to
Of course.
do with art therapy, equine assisted therapy. So we are cash pay, and we're actually a nonprofit, 501c3. So we're able to accept donations. We try to keep a scholarship fund for clients, for youth and adults, and we're always fundraising, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Never
So we can provide more scholarships
That's
for
amazing.
clients.
Okay.
And actually, in Oakland County, there is a reimbursement program through the schools
Oh, really?
for mental health services that families can apply for reimbursement for
Really?
mental health services in general. Mhm.
Okay. I was
think
not aware of that.
I think it's up to $2,000 per child, I think, maybe household.
Wow,
Actually,
that's amazing. Ooh, I'll have to look more into that and post that as a
can share that.
resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be really helpful, especially like we've already talked about, for some kids who maybe talk therapy is really intimidating.
Mhm.
Maybe, a therapy like this with horses would be a better experience for them. And that would be really cool because I know that the cost of healthcare and especially mental health services is so astronomical for
is.
families.
Yeah.
And we do charge for sessions. Our rate is $200 per session
Okay.
and $250 for family sessions.
Okay.
We also provide group sessions as well, which is billed, differently based on the number and how long we have the session for. But
Yeah. So, tell me about, I think I saw you're having a retreat of some
Yes.
kind
Yes.
at Therapy
Ooh.
Ranch.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
thank you for asking. We are hosting it's called the Holding Space for Care Providers retreat. It's May 2nd. It's a full day event where we will have breakfast, yoga. We will have time with the horses, equine assisted work that we'll do, and learning about different animal assisted therapies. And we'll have lunch and then a sound bowl healing and forest bathing as well.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yes, and you can see more information on our website,
What's your website?
therapyranch.org.
Okay.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought, wow, that would be, I'm going to be, of course, be out of town.
Yeah.
Of course I
should.
can.
Yeah.
May
because
2nd.
I
Yeah.
know.
May gets really busy, doesn't it?
It does. And I
Mhm.
swear like every single thing on the planet's happening that weekend that I'm gone.
Right.
So
And
Right.
we also have accredited for continuing education hours for that retreat as well.
really,
For nurses and social workers. We have
Wow.
6 continuing education credits.
really, that sounds amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you can have a relaxing, fulfilling day while getting some continuing education hours, which is a unique way of doing that study.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
win-win to me.
Oh yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Definitely be a beautiful day.
For sure.
What's your favorite part about working on this ranch with going through all the therapy and the animals and the people?
hmm It's really fulfilling work to see, to be part of an experience where people have just real therapeutic change in their life, where they're able to have a shift in their own perspective of what's happening for them. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a really moving experience to be part of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my other question. So we talked a little bit about this with the dog therapy. That the animals are taking on so much of the human
Mhm.
energy.
Mhm.
And our guest was talking about how she usually gives, what was it, like 2 days off, like a day on or 2 or 3 days off
Yeah.
for the dog to kind of rest because they're so exhausted after taking on all of the energy of
Mhm.
the humans that they're around.
Mhm.
Are horses sort of the same thing? Like, I mean, when they take on energy, like, I mean, does it kind of have the same feel to them? Like, does it exhaust them? Do they need time
Mhm.
off? Like, what's that look
We
like?
haven't seen that yet where they, are showing signs of being overworked or overwhelmed.
Okay.
Um, the horses have a unique way of like resetting themselves. So
Really?
and we do have clients stick with one group of horses, or once they kind of connect with a certain horse, we always keep that same group together for them.
Okay.
So then we are able to give that group a rest, and then the next session work with this group, and kind of they get a break throughout the day.
Okay.
And they let us know when they're done. But typically, we'll watch them after a session that may be particularly, heavy or difficult. And they will go out and they will roll in the dirt and they will literally shake it off. They'll do a big shake and go back to grazing again.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty amazing how they're able to, release that stress and continue on, which is a great teaching for our clients as well.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
man, I wish I could just roll in the dirt and shake it
Shake it
off.
off.
Yeah.
Because they're always on alert being prey animals. They'll startle quickly. They'll be very reactive to what's happening. We we had one session where a groundhog, it was the middle of the day, which is so strange, but come running out of the woods and run across the field and the horses were like, what's going on? Quite startling. And then within seconds, the horses are back just eating, grazing, completely relaxed and calm again. So
Wow.
it's a great teacher of emotional regulation, being high and then coming right back down.
Right.
Yeah.
excited. Got
Only
right
it was
back
that
down.
easy.
Right. Yeah. That quickly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look, squirrel. And then I'm back.
Right. Yeah.
They're why it's really interesting to see, and they do let us know. Different than dogs, they're not so trained to be obedient in the pasture, because during session we let them be horses. We let them just be in the pasture free without halter or lead rope, anything on them. So they're allowed to give consent, and they're allowed to choose to participate or to walk away. So
Wow.
it's an empowering lesson on consent too for clients,
Yeah.
because the horses are like, nope, not me, not today. And they'll just
Mm.
leave, and
And they don't have a problem saying no.
they don't. They really don't. They behave more like a cat than, an obedient dog would. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For sure.
That's a funny analogy. Like a cat.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then they may
That's-
change their mind a few minutes later and come right up and engage and change their answer that fast. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to watch
Oh my
and to be
goodness.
part of. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
I gotta say, I didn't think that much went into horse therapy and that type of analogy and comparison. Like, I just thought it was like, oh, you get to pet some horses and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
try to feel happy.
Right.
I just didn't know it went that deep.
Yeah. That's very, very cool. Yeah. And I have to imagine as a client, I mean, maybe it's different. I love horses as well. So like, I love the energy that I get from horses. So, I can only imagine as a client, just the good feels kind of that you're getting from that large of an animal, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
And sometimes it's conflicting feelings, right? So it's all in how clients will interpret the behaviors and the responses that they get.
so, how many times, so typical talk therapy, right? You go like once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever. How often, because you said that, horse therapy is a little bit more intense. So if I was a client, like how often would I come and do equine therapy?
The rhythm that's working well is every 2 weeks.
Every 2
One session
weeks.
every 2 weeks. Mhm.
Okay.
And it's an interesting type of work too, that people, they may finish session and not really have a response or be able to dissect what happened with them out there, but they'll go home and they'll sleep on it, and then things will digest and soak in, and then when they come back, we have them journal in between if they want to. And then they'll come back and say, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened and this happened and this was that," and really be able to interpret what happened during the session.
That's
So it really
incredible.
takes time to make change and to digest it.
That's incredible.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I know you're doing this retreat coming up on May 2nd for the caregivers. Do you do like other retreats for like the public or
Mhm.
like for kids or?
We can always create a retreat specific to the needs of a client or corporation group. We're working on a cancer thrivers retreat for September 13th
Wow.
in the fall, which is curated specifically for cancer survivors.
That's amazing.
So we can modify and adjust the retreat date to fit the needs of the clients too.
Okay.
Mhm.
So about like how many people typically do you, allow to come in for those kinds
Groups
of?
we like to keep our groups very small and intimate. So between 12 and 15 people
Okay.
is the maximum.
Okay. I kind of figured smaller
For
'cause
that
you've
type of
got-
work.
Yeah, with the
Mhm.
5 horses and okay. So do you have so when you're working with all 5, do you have like an equine specialist for all 5 or is it just like you or like how does that kind of work?
It depends.
Depend. Of course it does.
Depends on the size of the group.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if we had a larger group, we would need more staff. Yeah, we'd have more handlers, more horse experts, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do you see like equine therapy is kind of an up and coming, like I feel like I'm hearing more and more about it. But
Yeah.
like you said, like there aren't a lot of places, in Southeast Michigan specifically that have it, but I feel like I'm hearing about it more, or maybe it's just I'm digging for it.
noticing a little bit.
True, true.
I don't know.
It's the algorithm.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is a relatively new, modality of therapy. It's only about 25 years old since it's been, defined,
Okay.
created. So,
Okay.
but I think we're learning more about getting back to nature and our roots and really connecting. We're so in our phones, and kids are so disconnected even when they're surrounded with a room full of people, and that that feeling of social isolation is just rising and rising and rising. So we really need to get back to nature and connecting and learning how to connect again.
Yeah.
And horses and being outside is really a great way of doing that.
Yeah.
Do you hold it year round, or is it just through the
do.
summer?
We
Year
do.
round?
We do.
Oh, wow.
We're not quite as busy in the winter.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
bundle up.
And we do follow a weather policy. So we've had a lot of snow days this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, we were there. We were out there yesterday for several hours.
It was very windy.
A little
yesterday.
chilly.
It was, yeah.
I was a little underdressed. And some clients, cold is part of the session, how cold they are and the weather and the snow. And it's really, the environment is all part of what's happening in session. So it becomes one of the characters in the story. And other clients don't even feel it. They don't.
Really.
They're so focused on connecting with the horses. They'll take their gloves off and, utilize all their senses, getting into the fur and petting and smelling, listening to the nature. So I just don't even notice how cold it is.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So what other questions do you have, Whitney?
I heard, did we miss anything?
I know, I feel like I've just been like
like-
barraging you with questions,
Right,
but
yeah.
Great.
anything we've missed or anything that you want to talk about?
We also can provide equine assisted learning type experiences. So it's taking the therapy out of the conversation. So this would be for corporate groups or small businesses that are trying to work on their team building or have a day of respite
Oh.
away from the office and trying to connect more with each other. So themes that may happen during the day are communication, or boundaries, or a specific project that team's working on.
That's very interesting.
And then they can go out in the pasture and create the new office space that they're moving into with the different props, and move the horses through it or try to keep them in a certain space of the. And it really works with, communication and connection. People have such a good time doing the work. And it's just a great way to connect and to team build.
That's awesome. Now, I of course love like just the property there is so amazing. So there's also wooded trails there, correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
like you could
Our
incorporate
host farm
that.
is Stillwater Stables and Stays. They have 4 cabins on site that you can rent through their website. And they have walking trails all through the woods. They're on Lake Perry.
Okay.
And there's also an outdoor amphitheater for events. They host weddings. They have a meeting space over top of the horse barn where they can seat 50 people for any kind of party or event, banquet.
Yeah. And
It's really a beautiful
it
property.
is a beautiful place.
I want to go out and see it now.
I mean, I got the
beautiful.
tour with Lindsay and it's stunning. It's really cool. And I personally love the smell of farms and horses and everything. But the one thing I actually noticed, and I made a comment to Lindsay, was walking in the barn, like it doesn't smell like horses.
You're right.
Oh.
Like
right.
it's
It's very clean.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just really, really
Yes.
beautiful there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They built the whole farm except for the main house just a few years ago, so everything is brand new and really, really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a beautiful
And they have
space.
special drainage in the horse barn so it doesn't smell, like feces or urine.
No, it's very
Oh,
cool.
Which is
That's
quite
awesome.
unique for a horse farm.
It is because my oldest son, he cleaned stalls when he was in high school. That was his job. There was a farm in Clarkston he worked at, and that's his job. He cleaned stalls, and he would come home and just his boots smelled so much like horse urine. It was
Oh.
disgusting. So we were like, your boots can never come in the house. They have to be solely out in the garage kind of boots. But yeah, like you walk in those barns and just like there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's very
It's
clean.
just, yeah.
Yes.
It's really, really nice space.
And they do a great job with removal, with the manure removal and keeping the bugs at bay. They do a lot of different things to keep the bugs down. So
Yeah.
it's really well maintained and a very nice farm.
Yeah.
We're very happy to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. So make sure that you check out therapyranch.org.
Yep.
And if this is something that you think you might be interested in, make sure that you reach out to Lindsay. It really, the horses are beautiful. And I think it's a beautiful experience with animals. I believe so wholeheartedly in that kind of energy work.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So thank you so very much,
Thank
Lindsay.
Yes,
for
thank
being
you.
on our show and talking to us a little bit about this. And hopefully, we'll put it out there, and
Thank you.
and we would love to have people experience maybe something a little bit different.
Can I do a shout out for our fundraising event?
Of
course.
course, you may.
We're having a weekend of events. June 7th, we're having our first ever hike and ride where it's a fundraising event, $45 to sign up, and you can come out and do a hike at the Pontiac Lake Equestrian Campground.
Yes.
1 mile or 3 mile hike, or you can bring your own horse and do the 3 mile ride.
Wow.
And then on June
That's
8th,
amazing.
Stillwater is hosting a rockabilly barn bash in our honor, and there'll be a live band,
Wow.
food, and a cash bar tasting room upstairs in the Pony Up, and horse experiences,
And that's
and a
June
photo
8th.
booth.
June 8th, you said?
Yes, June 7th and June 8th.
Wow.
Mhm.
You have a busy weekend that
That'll
weekend
be a
then.
busy weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I might be down for both of those.
Right.
Actually.
Yes, we'd love to have everyone there.
Yeah.
Both events.
Yes. I mean, I don't have my own horse, so I guess I would have to opt for the hike.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. All right. Well,
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
thanks so much,
Thank
Lindsay.
you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I guess we'll catch. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are just your friends. Whitney and I are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional.